This is HammerTron here with a new action figure review for you. This time I'll be reviewing the Crimson Dynamo Build-A-Figure. This was available in 2020. This is the entire action figure wave that Crimson Dynamo came in. So I will be putting together this Crimson Dynamo action figure. I have reviewed all of these individual action figures. I've put them back into packages and I have not assembled Crimson Dynamo yet, but I will be doing that soon. The first action figure I reviewed in the wave was Taskmaster, based on the Black Widow movie. This has a spot varnish logo up there, but that action figure's arm broke off while I was playing around with it normally. So that's broken, but it did not have any Build-A-Figure pieces. And I'll take all of these out and look at the individual pieces, then I will assemble the action figure. Here's the Crimson Dynamo Build-A-Figure wave, all the individual action figures out of the package with the Build-A-Figure piece that they come with. So starting on the right side here, we have Spy Master, and it looks like Crimson Dynamo's right leg. We have Crossbones with Crimson Dynamo's right arm. We have Winter Soldier with Crimson Dynamo's head. We have Red Guardian with Crimson Dynamo's left arm. We have Elena Malova with Crimson Dynamo's body and some armor pieces, shoulder armor parts, and a few other pieces. So it's a lot of parts there. Then we have Black Widow with Crimson Dynamo's left leg. And Taskmaster did not come with a Build-A-Figure piece, but Taskmaster apparently felt left out, so decided to rip his own arm off. This arm is broken, but he didn't want to be left out by having a body part in front of him. I think it's a him. Looks like a him, but according to the Black Widow movie, which I have not seen yet, but I think they digitally altered the head of Taskmaster to make it look like a woman. So it's a little weird, but what do you expect? He ripped off his own arm to look like everybody else by having a body part in front of him. So just a moment, I will put Crimson Dynamo together and we'll see how it works. This is the Crimson Dynamo Build-A-Figure all assembled. This came out in 2020. I bought the individual parts with the action figures in the wave. Some of them from the store, some of them through online stores, all in 2020. And now I finally assembled it. Let's see how tall this action figure is. It's about 8 inches tall, or about 20 centimeters tall. So very nicely sized action figure. It's also pretty heavy. I'm happy about that. So pretty thick, heavy, and I had to assemble it. The hardest part to assemble were the legs into the thighs up here. I actually had to use a hair dryer to heat up both sides in order to push them together. It was pretty hard, especially because I wanted to be as gentle as possible because of the way I was holding on to it. But I put the legs on first, and then I put in the arms. The arms were very easy to put in there. Actually, the first thing I put on was this part here on the back. That just snaps into place there. Then the legs, then the arms, then these shoulder pads, which are pliable plastic pieces. And then the last part was the head. And there's some softer pliable plastic on the legs here. So the hardest part was just putting in the legs into the thighs here. But it does look nice. I like the sculpted details throughout. It looks like it's molded in different colored plastic, and then there's some paint detail on it. So it all looks pretty nice there. The pliable plastic pieces, I think these will come off fairly easily. They do shift just a little bit, but it shouldn't be too much of a problem there. Interesting design on the wrist I'm not familiar with this particular version of the Crimson Dynamo. I think before this one there were at least 10 other versions of Crimson Dynamo, so it would be nice if there were action figures of those other versions of Crimson Dynamo too, but this one's pretty nice. Interesting gauntlets there. Nice big, huge hands. There's the feet. We have peg holes, but large feet, so there's no problem in making this stand. And a little bit of detail on the back here. So I think it all looks pretty nice. And I like the head there. So let's take a look at the articulation. There's two parts. There's a ball joint that we put the head on top of, but in the bottom part of the neck there, it's also moved. So we can make Crimson Dynamo look down that far, make him look up that high. So the joint in the bottom of the neck and on the ball, they're working together to give him more motion. We can turn side to side, a little bit of tilting, or a lot of tilting. That's pretty nice. Now on the shoulders there's no butterfly joints, but we can go out this far. The articulation is limited by the shoulder pads, so we could go probably just a little farther than that, but that's pretty good. We can go forward and back. There's some ratcheting in the joints, so it's still limited by the shoulder pads, but that's about as far as we can go with the shoulder pad. So that looks nice. And we have bicep cuts, so that's working there. Both sides are working. We have single jointed elbows that go in at less than 90 degrees. Not too bad, but we can straighten them out. Nice and straight. And then the wrists will turn. And we have hinges on this one here. And no, I don't think there's a hinge there. We have a diaphragm cut here where we can crunch forward that much, go back that much, go side to side, go around, and no waist cut. We can turn here. I don't want to turn too much, but we can turn here. And here at the hips, we can do the splits. Not very much. And we can kick forward. Well, maybe a little bit there. I'm a bit worried about pushing very hard on it. So either the ratchets are very strong or there's something not quite right there. I'm not going to push very hard, and I've already used a hair dryer in this joint. Now we do have an upper thigh cut, but that's where we put the leg onto the upper thigh, and that does turn. It's very, very stiff on this one. So maybe I have to push that in some more. I think I pushed it in as far as it'll go. But I'm a little bit worried about these hips, so I don't want to bend them very much. And then we have double jointed knees. It's about as far as we can get there. So not too bad. And no boot cut on this. We have ankles. We can go down that far. We can go up, not very much. We have a little bit of ankle pivot. Is it a pivot or it just turns? Well, there's a little bit of a pivot, but I think it also turns. So that's interesting. So it just looks big and menacing. So it does stand pretty well. Let's just make sure all the joints are straight and we'll get them standing, looking big and cool. There we go. Here is the Crimson Dynamo Build-A-Figure wave of action figures from Marvel Legends in 2020. I have Crimson Dynamo assembled, have all these action figures out, and I have reviewed all of them. And I do like the character selection. I like how the action figures look, but I think there were a lot of quality control problems. I'm looking at you, Taskmaster. And some of the others have pretty loose joints or some joints that were too tight. I did use a hairdryer on Winter Soldier, and I'm able to get the knees bent, but it's still a lot of work there. And the ankle joints on the Red Guardian are a bit loose, so that tends to fall over quite a bit. And the joints on the crossbones are still gummy or too pliable. I just don't think they're sturdy enough for the action figure. The others seem to be doing okay. So I do like how large the Crimson Dynamo action figure is. I think Crossbones is the largest one next to that, and Crimson Dynamo is even larger than Crossbones, so I do like that. I like how very large it is, and it's pretty heavy. So I'm going to rank these from my least favorite to favorite. The least favorite is Taskmaster, because the arm just broke off while I was just bending it like normal, so that's my least favorite. Then Red Guardian is next because the ankle joints are too loose. Then Winter Soldier is next because the knee joints are too stiff. And then I give it to Elena Belova and Black Widow and Crossbones. I do like how large the action figure is. I'm still worried about the joints, but I still think it's a cool action figure. And then next is Spy Master. That's an obscure character, but I'm very happy to have an obscure character like that. So my favorite out of the whole wave is the Crimson Dynamo Build-A-Figure. Even though it does have some possible problems with the hip joints, I'm still happy with how massive it is. And it just looks cool. Here is Crimson Dynamo next to a pair of 4-inch action figures. On the right is an adventurer from an Animal Planet set I reviewed a while ago. On the left is Fortnite Jonesy by Jazzwares. And I think Crimson Dynamo makes a wonderful giant robot for displays or dioramas with the 4-inch scale action figures. Here is Crimson Dynamo next to a 6-inch action figure on the left. The Fortnite Legendary Series Havoc action figure by Jazzwares, and a 7-inch action figure on the right, the Masters of the Universe Masterverse He-Man action figure by Mattel. And I think it scales very nicely with those action figures. We can use it as a giant robot or a guy in a battle suit at either scale, and it looks really cool. Here is Crimson Dynamo next to the other Marvel Legends Build-A-Figures from 2020. The first one was the Super Skrull on the right, and the next one was Demo Goblin on the left, and Crimson Dynamo in the middle. And I think Crimson Dynamo is the most impressive Build-A-Figure of the year 2020 so far. I like how large it is, and it's actually pretty heavy. So, looks nice. Here is Crimson Dynamo next to a DC Multiverse Collect-A-Build action figure Atrocitus by McFarlane Toys. And that one is about 9 inches, so about an inch taller than Crimson Dynamo. So I'm very happy about how they scale pretty nicely together. They look pretty cool. The HammerTron Sledgehammer rating for this Crimson Dynamo Build-A-Figure from Marvel Legends in 2020 is it's okay. I am impressed with how large it is, and I do like the sculpted details. Looks like a lot of nice details. There probably could have been more detailed, but I'm not too worried about that. I'm just happy about how large it is. And the joints seem to be working, although I'm still worried about the hip joints, which is why this is only okay. So thank you for watching my review video. Remember to like the video, leave a comment, let me know what you think of this action figure, and remember to subscribe to my channel to keep up to date with my future reviews. I'll see you next time. Bye everyone.